Are Steve Sarkisian and Texas football under national championship or bust pressure entering 2025? Do they need to win it all in Arch Manning's first year starting at quarterback and with a lot of highly touted NFL first-round players coming back, and Colin Simmons is one of those, and he'll be back for another year in 2026. Do the Longhorns need to earn their first title since 2005 in order to call the season a success? Well, before we get to that answer, please like the show, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. And I'm looking forward to covering Texas football on a weekly basis. I'm very invested in this team because I think it's going to be one of the best programs moving forward in the future. I genuinely believe that. It's phenomenal what Steve Sarkisian's done. That's why I had to pause there, because you could use so many different words to describe what Texas is doing right now, but all of them would have to be eloquent and all of them would have to be full of praise. They've gotten better every year under Sark. They just signed the number 1 overall class in the 2025 cycle. They're working on earning another elite class. And the donor, money, location, culture, coaching staff combo they have, I think is the best in America moving forward. I genuinely believe that. And that's also to say that, strangely enough, I don't know if it's a national title or bust year for the Longhorns. With Clemson and Penn State, who I talked about earlier in this national title or bust segment while live, if you're watching this outside of the live show when it's clipped, make sure to hit the notification bell so you can get notified when I go live Sundays, Mondays, and Wednesdays at 6 p.m. The reason why I called Clemson and Penn State national title or bust teams, which means one of them will probably have a disappointing season guaranteed because only one team can win it all, is that they're not recruiting or developing or coaching in recent memory at the level to where they could lose all of their seniors this year and not reach the title game or not win it, and then immediately reload and be in that conversation next year, especially Clemson, especially them. Penn State's just also in the national title or bust conversation because of how good their team should be. Like, they should be head and shoulders above everyone else, with Texas and maybe Clemson being the only exceptions to that rule. But even then, I do think Penn State should be that good. But Texas has done this before in terms of losing a bunch of players to the NFL, and they reload, and they don't just reload, but they actually upgrade. And there's a chance they could do that this year. So on one hand, I almost think the answer should be yes, because of how they're continually upgrading their roster. Manning should be better than Ewers. It's not a guarantee, but he should be better than Ewers. And Texas does a really good job of keeping around their coordinators, keeping around their assistants, and they return older players. I mean, they only bring back 51% of their production, and yet their preseason S&P Plus rating is 5th, viewed as 26.4 points better than the average college football team. Their win total is 9.5 while playing Ohio State on the road in non-conference, and they won 13 games last year. They went 13-3, 7-1, and I mean, look at their depth chart. Look at how many seniors they still have on their depth chart. For example, Nathony Hill Jr. is an old player. I don't quite know if he's a senior. No, he's a junior, but still, junior, older player, is going to go to the draft after this year. Trey Moore is a fifth-year player. Michael Taafe is a fifth-year player, All-American caliber player. Jalen Gilbo is a senior. Malik Muhammad and Jelani McDonald are seniors. Jordan Johnson-Rubel is a true sophomore at boundary side safety. Colin Simmons at edge, outside linebacker, sophomore, but freak All-American. And then you have Travis Shaw, Cole Brevard at defensive tackle, who are seniors. Ethan Burke is a senior at defensive end. And then you look at offense, and offense is younger than defense, but Cole Hudson didn't start last year at center. We'll start this year at center. He's a senior. DJ Campbell at guard is a senior. Neto Umeozulu at left guard is a redshirt junior. Trevor Goosby's a redshirt sophomore. Brandon Baker is a true sophomore. There's no freshmen on that O-line, and 4 of them are at least 3-year players. 3 of them are 4-year players. And then Manning's a redshirt sophomore. Wisner is a junior. Baxter is a redshirt sophomore. Incoming tight end Jack Endries, I believe, is a junior or senior. Ryan Wingo is a freak sophomore. DeAndre Moore Jr. is a junior. I like the combination of both young upside but also proven seniority with Texas. And a lot of that seniority and even some of the juniors, as we saw last year where players with eligibility left for the draft when they could have come back, on one hand, that makes me think, yeah, Texas should expect to win it all, especially when they have Arch Manning at quarterback and it's not a guarantee he'll come back. But at the same time, I think to myself that Texas, they can do this every year. They can be in the national title race, and they will be every single year. And they're still not quite at the point where I think their roster talent has peaked, where I think Georgia and Alabama and Ohio State have reached that point where they're not going to get more talented on their rosters. They aren't. Texas, I think, maybe is there, or they're a year or 2 away, but they still have some of those classes in the mix that weren't top 5 or weren't quite the quality of Ohio State, Alabama, or Georgia. So I still think they're approaching their peak, in a sense. And since they can contend for a title every year, if they don't win it all this year, they can just win it all the following year, in a sense. And Sark is entering his 5th season, second in the SEC. But then the counter to the counter is that when I look at my All-American teams, which are larger than most, and I have 6 teams total, more players per team, more teams than most outlets produce, I have Manning as a third team All-American, and he could be higher than that. I'm just a little bit cautious because hasn't started many games. Ewers last year was inconsistent, and I just kind of want to see where Manning's at before I peg him as a top 2 QB. I have Baxter on my 3rd team at running back. Cole Hudson's on my honorable mention 6th team at center. DJ Campbell at guard is a 2nd team All-American. And Neto Umeozulu, sorry about that mispronunciation, is an honorable mention All-American at guard. Trevor Goosby I have as an honorable mention tackle on the 6th team. I have Ryan Wingo on my 2nd team All-American at wide receiver. DeAndre Moore Jr. on my 5th team honorable mention. Jack Endries, the tight ends, on my 3rd team. Cole Brevard's on my 2nd team at D tackle. I have Colin Simmons as the best overall defensive end, edge, outside linebacker. I just edge to kind of group them all together in America. I have Nathony Hill Jr. as my best overall linebacker. And I have Trey Moore on my 4th team All-American list at linebacker. Michael Taafe I have as the 2nd best safety in America, only behind Caleb Downs. He's on my 1st team. And I have Malik Muhammad on my 6th team honorable mention unit at corner. Jelani McDonald is also there just at safety. Mason Shipley, 5th teamer for kicker. Jack Bomeister at punter, 3rd teamer. Altogether, 18 All-Americans on my massive All-American team, only behind Penn State there. And a lot of those guys will be leaving. A lot of them, to be fair, like Ryan Wingo, Colin Simmons will be coming back. I imagine if Manning does not have a generational season that he would be back at least for his redshirt junior year. I imagine that. Maybe it's a foolish guess. And then much of Texas's offensive line would be back the following year. So I'm going to lean no for Texas. I don't think it is a title or bust season. However, what I will say is that they have to win a big game. They have to make progress. And what that means is there are 3 big games on the schedule. Maybe 4, maybe 5. But the 3 biggest I think of are Ohio State week 1, Georgia week 12. Those are the 2 biggest in their own tier. But I think at Florida week 6, got to pay attention there. got to keep the foot on the gas against Oklahoma week 7 and A&M in week 13. That's another must win. And I would say if you're Texas, you got to go 10-2, 11-1, 12-0. 9-3 would be a disaster with what they bring back. And yeah, with what they bring back and the fact that they've recruited, I think, at the ideal level in terms of fitting the meta. I've criticized several other teams, or at least point out the fact that, Georgia has not figured out how to recruit wide receiver. Ohio State's neglected O-line recruiting. And Oregon is still leveling up their roster talent. Alabama, I think, has neglected development overall recently. More so in terms of college development. Obviously, I think their players have still been fit for the pros, but if they've been properly implemented and developed for college play, or even developed for the NFL to be at their peak performance when entering the draft, I don't exactly know. Texas, I don't think has had any of those issues. So, well, a lot of these programs that lose a bunch, like Texas, if they go 9-3, I think to myself, it'd be disappointing, but it wouldn't be a disaster. I think Texas, especially losing 3 games, would kind of be, they got to win a big game because they didn't last year. Michigan was preseason top 10, but they were not a top 10 caliber team. They weren't. And then they lost to Georgia twice, lost to Ohio State. They played Georgia the second time competitively, and Ohio State competitively in the playoffs, but you have to get over that hump. You do, I think. It'd be a statement win especially. So a schedule that is Ohio State on the road, San Jose State at home, UTEP at home, Sam Houston at home, Florida on the road, Oklahoma neutral field, Kentucky on the road week 8, Mississippi State on the road week 9, Vanderbilt week 10, Georgia on the road week 12, Arkansas week 13, A&M week 14. Am I reading this correctly? That Texas only has 3 home conference games, and then from week 6 to week 9, they're not at home? Wow. That'll be tough, but I think Texas is significantly better than all of those teams as well. And I really believe that. So, not quite national title or bust, but Texas absolutely needs to get back to the semifinals, and they need to win a big game. Whether that's against Ohio State on the road, or Georgia on the road, or they win the SEC, and preferably 2 big games instead of 1, and again have that playoff success. And if they win the national championship, well, that's fantastic, and that would be the only thing that I think would make this season absolutely fantastic. So they're close. They're close to, I think, a title or bust year, but I don't think they're quite at the level that Clemson or Penn State are, because there's not the same urgency. Sweeney and Franklin have been around longer than Sark has. You kind of know who they are more than you know of who Sark is, and they don't have the talent every year to lose a bunch or to not win it all and then immediately rebound the following year and be in contention. They just don't recruit at the level that Texas does there. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell. I appreciate those things very much. They help you out and they help me out. I'll see you guys soon in the next segment.